screen and able to hear me properly as well? Yes. Can someone please answer if
Yes, we
you're able to hear me properly? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There might be some background noise today. Um, due to some festival are going on in my family. There's some wedding have been planned for few of my brothers tomorrow and in the coming week. So please bear with me. There'll be some kind of background noise. So you can just ignore that. Okay. So let's get started. Regarding the agenda that I'll talk about for today, which will be the day 3, again, a part of the demo. But in terms of the real-time things, we'll see from today onwards. That means for today's session. So one thing, what we'll be talking about over here is what is TypeScript. We'll talk about first thing is what is TypeScript. Second, we'll talk about the introduction and environment setup for the TypeScript. And we'll also talk about how do we set up the Playwright framework as well. How do we set up the Playwright framework in terms of our today's session? Usually day 3, I used to go for a code gen simple demo, but I believe like we have already gone through yesterday. But still, I'll go through one more time as a part of today's session. So these 3 are the things which will be agenda for our today's session. And then we'll see in the later that at the end we'll also be having a Q&A part of the things. Okay, so let's first start with like what is TypeScript? Why TypeScript is becoming so popular in the market, and why like why the people in an organization are moving towards TypeScript. So if I just go to the TypeScript TypeScript website, TypeScript. If I just go to the TypeScript main website, so what it says is, and this will also be an answer for a few of the people who are asking like what is the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript and few of the other things. So if you see over here, it says that TypeScript is JavaScript. That means if you still have the question like what is the difference between JavaScript and TypeScript, then ultimately there is not much difference. As you can see, the TypeScript TypeScript main website is also saying that TypeScript is JavaScript with syntax for types. With syntax for types. What is meant by that? So generally, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Generally speaking, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. What is meant by dynamically typed languages? That means dynamically typed language means whenever you go and write some kind of things, right? Whenever you go and write any kind of things in terms of the programming, the dynamically typed language will decide your code whether your code is correct or not at the time of runtime. Okay, so dynamically typed language will decide the error, or it will basically throw the error. Basically, will throw the error if there are any kind of error. Let's consider like you have written some kind of error. So if there are any kind of error, then it will throw the error at the time of execution of the code. That means it says that whatever the code that you have written, in terms of dynamically things, compilation will not be there. Okay. If you have basically worked in the past for Java, you might be knowing like first we have to compile the code and then that compilation will be converted into first we have to compile and then that will be execute the code, right? So in terms of a dynamically typed language, the compilation will not come into picture. It will directly start execution And at the time of execution itself, if there will be any kind of issues, then it will throw us an error. Okay. Second thing is, what happened in terms of statically typed language means, static language means, it will also have a compilation. So the error will be thrown, error basically will be thrown at the time of writing the code itself. At the time of writing the code itself. Okay. And what is like, which programming language is dynamic in nature? Something which is like JavaScript, Python, and then few of them are a few of the other programming languages are there, which is dynamic in nature. What is static nature? Static is like Java, .NET, and then TypeScript is also static in nature. So whenever you try to write some kind of programming or some kind of code, if you are trying to write, and if you have done some kind of mistake in the code, that will throw you an error at the time of writing the code itself. And that is what known as statically typed language. Statically typed language. So TypeScript is a statically typed language, which it also says in terms of their documentation that TypeScript is JavaScript with just the difference of the syntax for the types. That means TypeScript is a strongly typed programming language that builds on top of JavaScript, giving you the better tooling at any scale. What is that is? Let's see if we have a playground over here. So what happened in general is we already have over here something. So let's say this is some kind of things that we have over here, and I'm trying to create one file. Let's not worry about like how do we create a file. This is Visual Studio Code that we'll go through in our today's session. How do we install this Visual Studio Code? We'll be using Visual Studio Code in our for our course as well. Okay. So I'm just trying to create. Do not worry. How do I create? I'll go through each and every details once we start with our real sessions. Once we start with working with like Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's say I'm just saying it as let's see JavaScript.js. Extension for JavaScript will be .js, and extension for TypeScript will be .ts. Extension means we have to say the file that what kind of language that we are trying to use, right? So you can see here in terms of a JavaScript.js, we have written some kind of things, right? No, so we have created one file over there. Now in JavaScript, what I'll do is I'll just do something. Do not worry what I'm trying to write again. I'm just trying to show you the comparison over here. Okay, so const a equals to 10. What did I do over here is I have declared a constant variable. I've declared a constant variable. And again, at the next line, I'm trying to change the constant value of the constant variable. Okay, now I'm also trying to print some kind of things. Again, we'll go through how do we print in JavaScript and TypeScript today. And you'll see like how does it work in general. So if you see, const is a keyword which is used to create a constant in nature. Now, what is meant by constant? Constant is something, once you assign the value, the values of the variable will never be changed. The value of a constant variable will never get changed. Once you have assigned a equals to 10, this value becomes the final value for a. A, we will never be able to change the value of the variable. Okay. Now let's do the similar kind of operation in terms of TypeScript.ts. Write the similar test over here, which is const a equals to 10 and a equals to 40. You see the difference over here? In terms of JavaScript, it did not throw any kind of error. It did not throw any kind of error over here. In terms of TypeScript, if you see, it is saying some red line over here. What it is saying? Cannot redeclared block scope variable A. Now, what is meant by that? It is saying that the variable that we have declared is a constant in nature, cannot assign to A because it is a constant. Okay, this is what the difference that we have in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript. This is one major difference that we have in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript. TypeScript will throw you an error at the time of writing the code itself, whereas JavaScript will throw you an error at the time of running the code. Let's say Let's try to run the code. Run the code that we have written over here for the couple of lines, which is load. Again, do not worry how I'm trying to write the code. We'll go through everything in detail. Script.js. Okay. Now it is throwing us an error assignment to a constant variable. What it is saying is there is an issue in our code, which is at line number 2, a equals to 40. Wherever we have written a equals to 40, there is an issue. And what is the issue? It is saying type error assignment to a constant variable. That means there is an issue with the assignment to a constant variable. Okay. This error have basically thrown at the time of execution of the code. Let's say you have written everything depending on this particular value. Let's say you assume that, okay, I have just changed it a equals to 40, and depending on that, I have written all the codes. Probably you will have to revisit again all the codes that you have written inside your by using your JavaScript, right? Because it will throw us an error at the time of runtime. Whereas in terms of TypeScript, it simply throws us an error at the time of writing the code itself. Okay, that is one difference between JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay, second is you can also create a generic variable in terms of TypeScript. Generic variable means, let's say I'll just say it as let name equals to let's say TypeScript example. Let name equals to TypeScript, or name, or let's say name2 equals to TypeScript example. Something we have created over here. Okay. Now what you can do is you can make this name variable to only accept a string type of data type. What did we declare over here is a string, right? So you can just say it as declare name2 is a variable which will only accept a string as a data type. Okay. These things we'll go through in our session. In complete detail we'll go through, so do not worry for that. What will happen in this case is when you try to do name2 equals to 50, it will automatically throw you an error saying that name2 cannot type number is not assignable to type string. That means it is saying that you have declared a name2 which should only accept a string as a values, but you are trying to assign a number as a value for the name2. Okay, this is basically not possible in terms of JavaScript. If you just try to write in terms similar code in terms of JavaScript, you will see that this will not allow you to declare any generic variables. This will just say that any type of variable you can declare it over here. Okay, so that type of restriction is not possible in terms of JavaScript. You cannot restrict any variable to accept any kind of in any specific values for a variable. And that is why the TypeScript is becoming popular, because it, first thing, it throws us an error whenever there will be an error. Second thing, it also allows us to create a generic things. That means it is asking us to also type a type the data type of the variable that you are trying to store. Okay, now you might be having a question, okay, will we be able to make like this? Like declare a variable which is accepting string over here, and then we can accept some other values as we have done in terms of JavaScript. Yes, that is possible. You can simply remove this and make it as :any. If you just say it as any, if you just say it as any, what it will do is it will in this case what it will try to do is, okay, we'll have to first combine. Let me remove this. Some other place it might have been used. So we did not run this file now. Let's try to run this file as well, which is TypeScript.ts. Let me TypeScript have not been basically installed for this particular project. the project that I have created. That is why it is not able to properly identify colon any over here. But in general, in terms of a TypeScript, whenever you say like any colon any, right, you can do the similar kind of operation that you have done over here. That means name2 you can assign with the value that you have declared over here. Let me comment it out. The value that you have declared over here, and at any point of time you can assign with some other values as well, some other values as well. In the same way, you can do the similar operation over here as well. Okay, now you can see that um, it is accepting, right? It says it is not throwing any kind of error. It is saying that okay, you have said that this particular variable will accept any, that any means any type of data type that this variable can accept. Okay, and that is where it was saying TypeScript is basically a JavaScript with some syntaxes. Okay, so always remember that whatever the code that we write in terms of JavaScript is ultimately a TypeScript code as well. That means if you are learning JavaScript, that means you are learning 90% of the code for the TypeScript. If you're learning TypeScript, that means ultimately you also know the 100% of JavaScript. TypeScript will only have the syntax will be added as we have gone through over here. What kind of syntax? The syntax you can add is like what kind of data type that it is accepting. Okay, that is only the difference that we have in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript. Apart from that, you will not find any other difference. There are few things that it has given, few features that it has given in addition to the JavaScript that we'll go through in our session. But apart from that, we do not have any such differences in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript. If you write the code by using complete JavaScript, that is also a TypeScript code. If you write the code by using a TypeScript, that means if you just remove the syntax, that will become the JavaScript code. Syntax means like data type that you have given for the variable. If you just remove that, that will become complete JavaScript code. Okay. So that is where it says that these are basically statically typed language. Asynchronous, probably you'll not understand right now. Once we'll start with our Playwright session, at that point of time, we'll understand what is asynchronous. Asynchronous basically is not a synchronous. Synchronous means step-by-step manner. Asynchronous means parallel kind of things. Okay, so that we'll try to understand at the time of going through the Playwright itself. Now I'll just pause after all the points. I'll just pause for a couple of minutes to see if you have any kind of questions, and then I'll move to the next thing. Any questions over here till now? No, no, this is not possible. That is what I said. Like even if you are trying to write the JavaScript code, that becomes ultimately your TypeScript code as well. Okay, so that is not required that you have to give every time data type for the variable. Okay, so that is not required. Even if you do not provide, that will automatically handle the scenarios. That means there is a concept we'll go through. There is a concept known as, so in this case, what will happen is, though we have not given what kind of data type that we are trying to use, it will automatically, ultimately automatically will be able to identify that we have stored a variable, which is a string type of data type. Okay, so that is again not mandatory every time that we have to provide. Yes, Karan. Yes, Karan, go ahead if you have any questions.
No, that was the only thing I wanted to ask.
Okay, great. Okay, so I believe none other question that we have for now. So let's move to the next thing over here. Next thing in terms of our agenda today is introduction of the TypeScript that we have gone through. Playwright introduction we have already gone through in our previous session. We'll try to install the TypeScript and Playwright over here. We'll try to install TypeScript and Playwright over here, Playwright environment. As I promised earlier, you'll see that the Playwright installation will just take not more than 2 minutes of time. Okay. So for TypeScript, so to work with any kind of things, we generally require a prerequisite, right? So for example, let's say if you are going from a place one to place two, let's say if you are traveling from place one to place two, there will also be some kind of prerequisite. What should be the prerequisite? That you have to leave your house or you have to leave your home and then reach to the point one, and from there, from the point one, you have to take some kind of transportation, and then you will be reaching towards point two, right? So those are basically a prerequisite, right? To work in the same way, to work with any of the language, to work with any of the tools, we require some kind of prerequisite as a part of like we require some kind of prerequisite to work with those programs and tools in general, right? That is where when we start working with TypeScript and Playwright, we require some kind of prerequisite to have inside our system. We require some kind of prerequisite to be installed in our system, whatever the system that you are using. Either if you are using your office laptop or you're using your personal laptop, you need to have some kind of things installed before you start working with TypeScript and Playwright. Okay, now what are those prerequisites that you require is something that you can also find um, inside our document over here. Everything I have given inside the document as well, that you can see in terms of the prerequisite. Again, if you're working with Windows, if you're working with Mac operating system, or you're working with Linux, whatever we are going to discuss right now will be same, will be similar for each and every operating system that you have. I am currently using Windows. If you're using MacBook, the steps are completely similar. Okay. So system requirements, that means we need to have some kind of prerequisite to start working with TypeScript and Playwright. What are those prerequisites that we require? Those are Node.js greater than 18 version. First prerequisite is Node.js greater than 18 version that we require to be available inside our system. In terms of a prerequisite, we need Node.js installed in our system. Now, what is Node.js? You might be having a question, okay, why do we require Node.js over here? Why do we have to install Node.js? We are not even touching in terms of the programming. We are just going through with TypeScript and Playwright, right? So Node.js basically is a JRE, JavaScript runtime environment, which runs our code, whatever the code that we write in terms of JavaScript. Now, you again might be having a question that, okay, JRE basically stands for JavaScript runtime, and that is Node.js is also a server, open source tool, which is basically a JavaScript runtime environment and which help us in running our code, whatever the code that we write in JavaScript. Okay, so Node.js help us in running the code, whatever the code that we write in JavaScript. Then why do we require Node.js to work with TypeScript, right? Why do we require TypeScript or Node.js to work with TypeScript? So if I have a diagram over here that I'll show you um, in terms of a TypeScript. Let me just open the document. So TypeScript we have over here inside this, which is TypeScript. Okay, so I have also the document for TypeScript, which will be available inside the drive folder. So if you see in this case, for the TypeScript, what it says is, whenever we write our TypeScript code, whenever we write the code in terms of a TypeScript will get compiled into a JavaScript code. We cannot directly run the TypeScript code. There is a way we can run directly the TypeScript code, but still internally the process will be TypeScript code will be converted in terms of a JavaScript code, and that JavaScript code will be executed by the Node.js. And that is why we require Node.js to be available inside our system to work even with TypeScript. So what it says is TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. TypeScript builds on top of JavaScript. First, you write the code in terms of a TypeScript. Then you have to compile the TypeScript code into a plain JavaScript code using a TypeScript compiler. Once we have the JavaScript code, you can deploy it to any of the environment to run the JavaScript. To run basically the JavaScript. Ultimately, what it says is you write a TypeScript code, and then by using a TypeScript compiler, that will be compiled into a JavaScript, and that JavaScript code will be executed in terms of working with TypeScript. Ultimately, when we are working with TypeScript, even JavaScript will also come into picture. Either we have to compile our code, or it will be internally compiled in terms of at the time of working with TypeScript. So if you see over here, if I have installed TSC, I'll show you what is happening over here. So we have this. This is a TypeScript code, right? TypeScript .ts. Let me also add the type over here. So what I'm trying to do is TSC TypeScript.ts. Okay, so I've just done a TSC command. What is TSC? TSC stands for TypeScript compiler, and then path of the file. Okay, and you can see that the similar file have been created with a .js extension. That means this TypeScript code have been converted to a JavaScript. This TypeScript code that we have written have been converted in terms of a JavaScript over here. This becomes the code for the JavaScript. This becomes the code for the JavaScript over here. So whenever we write any TypeScript code, that will be compiled first into a JavaScript, and that JavaScript code will be run to return us the result from the TypeScript code. Okay, you can skip this execution by just saying it as TS. By just instead of TSC, you can simply write it as TSX, and this will give us the return, whatever the result that we are trying to print over here. Okay, but in this case as well, internally TypeScript code will be converted to a JavaScript, and that JavaScript file will run at the time of execution. Okay, so though we are working with TypeScript, our code will ultimately be converted to a JavaScript at the time before the execution of the code. Okay, so that's where in terms of prerequisite, we need to have Node.js installed in our system. And apart from that, we require one type of operating system. Either you work with Windows, or you work with MacBook, or you work with any kind of Linux or Ubuntu kind of operating system. Okay, so Node.js is must for us to work with either JavaScript or TypeScript. Now, what is Node.js? So as I was just talking about, so Node.js is an open source, cross-platform, backend JavaScript runtime environment that runs on the, just give me a minute, guys. Just give me a minute, please. Please wait for 30 more seconds. There are some background noise, that is why I've just muted. Thanks for understanding. Okay, so let's get started again. So as I was talking about, Node.js is an open source, cross-platform, backend JavaScript runtime environment which runs on there is different types of engine available and executes JavaScript code on a browser. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. Node.js is a JRE, which is JavaScript runtime environment, which help us in running our JavaScript code. Okay, so first prerequisite that we required to have is Node.js. Node.js should be greater than 18 version. The current market version is somewhere around 22. So we need to have Node.js greater than 18 version. And second is editor. An editor we require. What is editor? Where we can write our code. Editor is a place where we'll write our code and store our code in our local system. Okay. And for that editor, we'll be using Visual Studio Code. So whatever we have seen just now, this is a Visual Studio Code. Okay. Visual Studio Code have also been developed by Microsoft. Playwright have also been developed and managed by Microsoft itself. Okay. So ultimately, Visual Studio Code is the best tool for working with JavaScript and TypeScript. So inside the document as well, you can see like prerequisite. Prerequisite is to have a Node.js installed in our system. And then we need to have a Visual Studio Code, which is basically best for JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay, these two things we require to start working with TypeScript. And later on, after installing this Node.js and Visual Studio Code, to work with Playwright, we need to install Playwright inside our system. Okay, so to work with Playwright, generally we require a Playwright to be installed in our system. Playwright installation. Okay, so couple of things that is prerequisite is Node.js and Visual Studio Code that will install in our today's session. Over here, we'll also install Playwright to see how easy it is in terms of setting up the Playwright environment. Okay, so let's go ahead and install the prerequisite part, which is Node.js and Visual Studio Code. It is pretty easy. You can just go to any of the browser, whatever the browser that you are trying to use. You just require a browser and internet to be available inside your system. Go to a browser and search for Node.js or something like download Node.js. You can simply say it as download Node.js. Okay, it will display a result saying that download Node.js. Click on this. It will take you to the nodejs.org website, nodejs.org website, which is a main website for Node.js. And from here, you can, if it is not directly redirecting you to the download tab, then you can click on download, and this will take us to this particular tab over here. Okay, depending on the operating system that you are using, it will automatically display, automatically preset the operating system that you are using, and whatever it is in terms of the architecture. It is saying my system is basically Windows operating system with 64 whatever it is available inside my system. In terms of MacBook, it will simply say it as Mac OS, and depending on whatever the things that you have installed, that you have inside your system, it will automatically um, get those things over there. Okay, so you have to just click on Windows Installer. You can click on Windows Installer to download the Node.js. I already have downloaded Node.js multiple times, but let's see. Let's download it so that we'll see like how does it work. It will basically download an executable file, executable software. Executable software will be something which will ask you to click a few times next, and at the end it will finish. My network is pretty slow, and that is why it is taking a time. But if you people are trying to do side by side, probably it should have it should have already downloaded in your system. So in my system, let's see if I have already Node.js. Yes. So this is the type of Node.js that it will install in your system. This is this is a kind of software that will install in your system. Okay. This will get installed after finishing off the download. Uh, let me, let me stop, or anyways, it is it is able to about to complete. So let's wait for a few seconds to see what is happening over here. So the current version is 22.14.0. Okay, just wait for a few seconds. This will not take this much of time. My system is pretty slow. My network is pretty slow, and that is why it is taking this much of time to install a simple things over here. Okay, now you can click on this. Wherever it downloads, you can click on this, and this will open the similar this kind of software. Okay, and it will ask you to click on next. You can simply click on next over here, accept the license, click on next. If you want to change the path wherever the Node.js will be installed, you can change. Else, you can keep it by default. It will be at C program files Node.js. If you're working with MacBook, then by default it will be available inside /users//users/ your name, whatever you have given inside your MacBook. At that point of time, at that place, it will be available by default. And then you can click on next. Again, click on next. You can check this automatically install the necessary tool. You can simply check this out and click on next button. Okay. And after that, this will ask you to click on this install. As soon as you click on install, this will ask you a permission. This will basically ask you a permission thing like this kind of permission, yes or no. I'm not sure you are able to see or not, but it will ask you yes or no kind of permission. You have to just click on yes. Okay. After a few seconds, it will not take more than 10 or 20 seconds, depending on your internet speed. It will not take more than 10 or 20 seconds. Okay, I'm canceling it out because my network is pretty slow. So it might take more than a minute or two as well. But after the successful installation, which will just take 10 to 20 seconds, after the successful installation, the Node.js will get installed in our system. How do we verify that Node.js have been installed completely? How do we verify that Node.js have been installed? So for that, you can open the terminal. If you're working with MacBook, then you can open a terminal. If you're working with Windows, then you can open a command prompt over there. Command prompt. Go to the command prompt or go to the terminal and then just type node space minus minus version. Node space minus minus version. Okay. Node space minus minus version. If you just click enter, it will display you the version that it have been installed in your system. If it is not displaying anything over here, that means Node.js have not been installed in your system. Okay. We also do not have to set any kind of path inside the environment variable. Node.js will automatically do everything for us. That will not be that basically will not require us to set any kind of path inside the environment variable. Okay. Along with the Node.js, there will be one more software will be installed in our system, which is known as NPM. NPM stands for Node Packaging Manager. Okay, NPM will get automatically installed along with the Node.js itself. NPM stands for Node Packaging Manager. Packaging Manager. What is the use of this? Whatever the software that have been developed using JavaScript and Node.js will get hosted or will get stored inside the Node.js, and that will be managed by the NPM. NPM will manage all the software that have been developed on the earth. All the software that have been developed on the earth till date will be hosted inside the Node.js, and that will be managed by NPM. So whenever you go and install some kind of things, we have to use NPM to install any kind of jar or any kind of software related to JavaScript, Node.js, and TypeScript. Okay. Later, when we'll go for installation of Playwright as well, we'll see like we'll have to use a command known as npm. Why? Because all the software that have been developed using JavaScript, TypeScript, and Node.js have been stored inside a Node.js. Node.js is also a server, have been stored inside a Node.js, and that will be managed by npm itself. So whenever we have to install using command line, we have to use npm install and some other things. Okay, so this we have installed. Node.js is available and npm is also available. How do we check if the npm is available or not? Again, you have to just write it as npm space minus minus version. And this will also display some kind of version for the npm inside your system. Okay, so that means Node.js have been successfully installed in our system. Now, second thing that we require is Visual Studio Code. Again, you have to go to the browser and search for Visual Studio Code download. Visual Studio Code download will take us to the Visual Studio Code original website. And from there, depending on your operating system, you can simply click on any of the things. This will basically again download the similar software. You can just click on this. It will take a bit time. That is why I'm not trying to download over here. This will again generate a software, executable software. Let me cancel it and let me show you from here. So I have this Visual Studio Code downloaded. So on Windows, click on this. Close this window, close this one as well. Right. So now you can click on this. This is the type of this is basically the type of software that executable software that it will generate us. Okay, this is the things that it will generate after downloading, and once you click on the downloaded file. Okay, you just have to accept the license, click on next, click on next. Before that, what you have to do is you can check a create a desktop icon so that it will create something like this kind of things it will display over. A shortcut to open the Visual Studio Code will be generated, will be displayed. Okay. After that, there are two things which will all automatically be checked. One is register code, and second is add to the path, which will automatically be checked. So you can keep it like this itself. Again, click on next, click on install, and it will again take like around 20 to 30 seconds of time, and then it will be installed successfully inside your system. After that, it will just ask you to click on finish button. Okay, I'll just cancel it out because it is already available in my system. So let me again open this Visual Studio Code. As soon as it is installed successfully, it will open for the first time. It will open a welcome screen. First time it will open a welcome screen, and after that you will be able to see the Visual Studio Code screen that we had seen earlier. Okay, so this is the setup now for me. As as I had cancelled earlier, so it will take a bit of time. Let it take a time, and then we'll see. We'll again come back over here in some time for Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. Let me see. Okay, I'll anyways have to install this again, as I have closed all the things, and then we're trying to install, but interrupted in between itself, so that it has rolled back all the changes from the Visual Studio Code. Okay, let me see if we can again install this. Okay, so it will take us some time depending on your internet speed, but mostly it will take like 20 to 30 seconds of time to install completely. And then it will install the Visual Studio Code inside your system. We'll have to wait because Visual Studio Code itself is not opening in my system. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. So this is the new one that we have downloaded. So you can click on next, next, again next. In your system, it will go in a proper way because it does not have to delete anything. For my system, I have done some mistake over here. At the time of installation, I have basically interrupted that installation. So it has wiped out the previous version of the Visual Studio Code as well inside my system. Okay, so this will take a little bit of time again due to my software. It is internet speed. It might take a bit time for this Visual Studio Code. But again, after clicking on the finish, after this kind of things, it will open a finish button over here. You just have to click on finish button. Okay, after clicking on finish button, you should be able to see the Visual Studio Code. However, it was opening earlier for me, but for you, for the first time, you'll get a welcome screen. Okay, for the first time, you'll get a welcome screen. For me, as it is already available, so it will not display the welcome screen. But for you, it will display a welcome screen kind of things for the first time. And then you will see something like this kind of screen will be available. Okay, like this kind of screen will be available inside your system. So let me also create a new window over here. Like this kind of, where you will get a welcome screen as well on the page. Welcome screen as well on the page. Okay, so with this, now we are ready to work with, ready basically to work with Visual Studio Code and Node.js. That means TypeScript and JavaScript. Now, in terms of JavaScript, if you just want to skip the compilation that we have seen earlier, if you just want to skip the compilation, we have to install a couple of things over here. In terms of a TypeScript, we have to install TypeScript first, and then we have to install TSX module. TSX module will basically pre-compile the code. That means it will automatically compile the code from TypeScript to JavaScript, and then it will help us in running directly the code that we'll be writing in terms of TypeScript. Okay. So now let's first do an installation for TypeScript over here. So in terms of a TypeScript setup, we require a Node.js, TypeScript compiler, and Visual Studio Code. So Node.js and Visual Studio Code we have already installed. TypeScript compiler will require over here. That will install that we can install by using npm install -g and TypeScript. Okay, that these things like setup of the TypeScript, complete setup of the TypeScript, and installation of the Playwright. Right. So installation of Playwright. Again, I'll talk about this in our next session. But if you would like to install any kind of things, I'll I'll provide you people one recorded session that I have already from the previous session, so that you can go through with that once before we start our next session, just for the practice purpose. Okay. In terms of a Playwright installation, you will see that we only require to execute is npm init Playwright. So if you see the documentation, now we have Node.js available. Now we have Visual Studio Code available. What you can do is you can simply create a directory. What is in that directory is you can create a folder over here on any of the places. You can simply go and create a folder. let's say I have some place where I have created complete folder. So let me create a folder over here with the name some kind of things. As we are creating a dummy things right now, so I'll just give, let's say, Playwright TypeScript dummy, some kind of name I have given over here, and that folder I am trying to select, and that folder will open over here. Okay, this is completely empty right now. Okay, now whenever you have to install the TypeScript, before that we basically have to go through with the Visual Studio Code, like navigation through the Visual Studio Code. We'll go through in detail again. But if you have to just install the Playwright now, you can just give a command known as npm init playwright. We'll go through this installation once again, but to install the Playwright, we have a command known as npm init playwright. npm stands for Node Packaging Manager. Init stands for initialized. What initialization? A Playwright initialization over here. Okay, so you can simply click on this. And as we are trying to install with npm, so it will ask us to select a language that we are trying to use. Okay, first select the language that we are trying to use. What is the language that we are trying to use? A TypeScript. It has already by default selected a TypeScript. You can click enter over here. And next question it will ask you is, where do you want to put your end-to-end test case? For that, it will create a folder. And by default, the folder name is tests over here. I'll keep like this itself. Click on couple of times, enter, and then it started installation of Playwright now. My internet speed is very slow, but you can you can see the installation. Though my internet speed is very slow today, but it will not take more than 2 minutes of time to install complete setup of the Playwright. Okay. In general, it used to take not more than 30 seconds of time, but you can see like, yes, you can see like everything have been set up over here. Node modules, test folder that it has asked us at this point of time. It asks us, where do you want to put your end-to-end test case? So you can see like test folder it has created over here. It is saying, do you want to create a GitHub Actions flow, which is CI/CD pipeline? I said false, so it did not create. Okay, after that, it asked a few of the questions and then started execution of it. At the end, if you get a message saying that happy hacking, that means Playwright installation have been completed successfully. So if you could have observed, though my internet speed is very slow, it has not taken more than 30 seconds of time to set up the complete framework of Playwright. This is what we have to set up in terms of Playwright. Apart from that, there is nothing that we have to set it up. There is nothing, literally nothing that we have to set it up in terms of working with Playwright framework. That's it. 30 seconds of time, and we are ready with the Playwright setup. The similar kind of things, if you would have worked with Selenium, you might be knowing that it will at least take 2 to 3 hours of time to complete setup of the framework itself. Okay, you can see, as I said, like we do not have to set anything. We can directly start writing the test itself. Every configuration file that you had seen earlier yesterday is also available over here. We have not written anything, any single line of code we did not write till now, right? Everything have been set it up over here by default by the Playwright. Okay, that is where this is one more advantage, that the setup is pretty easy, much easier than any other tools and technology, any other installation of tools. Okay. For now, I'll stop it over here with the question and answer session. But one more thing that I wanted to let you know, people, is you might be hearing some background noise, and that is due to some of the festival that is happening in my home. My brother's wedding is there, and then there are a couple of functions for my son, who is of currently 2 years right now. In that, I'll be busy like the till next week. So I have like a couple of days in between time, but then we have decided, if you people are okay with that, we have decided to start our real session from 17th of March. We have started our we have decided to start our real sessions from 17th of March, where we'll be starting with TypeScript initially. I'll just come to you people. I know you will definitely have a lot of questions because I have like a couple of days in between. But if I again start and stop will not look good, right? In that way, we'll lose many things over here. If you people are okay with that, we'll be starting from 17, and that will be starting with the TypeScript. I know few of you have already paid, and few of you are going to pay in the next couple of days. Whoever have already paid and whoever is going to pay in the next couple of days, meanwhile, we'll be providing you the recorded session for JavaScript, recorded session for the complete JavaScript. I'll also provide you the recorded session of the TypeScript as well. Till 16th of March, you people can go through with that. Understand, like before we start our TypeScript session, try to understand those things. Note down if you have any kind of questions. And when we start our real session on 17th of March, we'll definitely go through with whatever the questions that you will be having in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript. So I'm promising you that whoever have paid and whoever is willing to pay in the next couple of days, you all you can just share your email address. You will get the recorded previous batch recorded sessions for the JavaScript and TypeScript. You can go through with that and understand before we start our real session. So that will be again a warm up kind of for you people to understand the technologies. Okay. Yes. I am ready to get the question now. Please feel free to ask whatever the question that you people have. Let's go one by one. Sandhya.
Yeah. Hi, Praveen.
Hey.
So actually, in my system, I have installed Node.js and Visual Studio long back, but when I installed Playwright with TypeScript, sorry, JavaScript. So how should I change the to TypeScript
You
in?
simply have to again go for the installation by using npm init playwright, and that will ask you to select the language. So if you
So
have already set it up with JavaScript, you cannot
mhm.
change in that project. You have to create a
Okay,
new project for that.
okay. So should I uninstall the Visual Studio?
No, you don't
VS
have
Code
to
editor.
uninstall. You
Uh-huh.
can simply open the new tab, new
Okay,
window by going to files and then click
mhm.
on new windows. And inside
Okay.
this new window, you can again create a new folder.
Mhm.
And for that folder, you can try to install Playwright for TypeScript.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Great. Yes. Yes, Karan.
Yeah, just wanted to understand, can we not have both JavaScript and TypeScript files in a single project? Like if my team has
You can
already
have.
started, can
You
we
can
have it?
have. Yes. Yes. There is no problem in that. You can have both of the files inside your system.
Okay. And the compilation
Inside.
line same like TSX, sorry, TSC and code
So
file name.
if you're specifically working with TypeScript, then you just have there is no difference at all. You can just run with node and then file name. Node space file name will work for
Okay.
both of them.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Deepika.
Yeah, Praveen. Praveen, like in Selenium, we used to first create the Maven project and then download the dependencies or like mention the dependency in pom.xml. So here we are just giving that one command for that playwright, and all the dependency or all the setup is already being done with these commands. There's no need to as we did in Selenium.
Exactly. So that is one major advantage to have with Playwright. Playwright
Yeah.
installation is much easier. It will not take much time to install, and we just have to do npm init Playwright, and that will do for us. Everything will
Okay.
be automatically installed within 30 seconds. When you go for a Maven project, you have to create a pom.xml. Inside that, you have to give all the dependencies from the Maven repository, and that will take a
Mhm.
lot of time. To solve these kind of problem, Playwright come up with automatically installation of everything for us, which if you see over here, if you are still able to see my screen, you will see like all the things that we do in the form.xml will be available inside node modules over here.
Okay.
Okay, so that is automatically done by the Playwright for it.
Okay. Okay. So it is a kind of Maven project similar to Selenium.
It is a kind of where the only difference is like we do not have to maintain anything. Types Playwright will automatically maintain for us.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Praveen.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other question from anyone else?
Hi, Praveen. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Please go ahead. I can take next question maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so Praveen, it's not related to technical thing. I'm working in IT industry for last 3 years, and out of that, 3 years all I worked using UFT. Actually, I learned Selenium, and I interviewed for Selenium. But when I joined, they asked me to work on UFT. So I had this question that if I just learn Playwright now, and is it okay if I don't show anything related to UFT, just Playwright thing for
Yes.
couple of years and continue? Because currently I'm working on Playwright for 3-4 months.
Understood.
We are
Understood
migrating.
your question.
Okay.
Right. Understood your question. So yes, there is no need to display the UFT inside your resume. Okay, you
Okay.
can just go ahead with the Playwright. Market is moving towards Playwright. So if you have just Playwright things in your resume, that will be picked up for the interview. Okay, so there is no need to go for writing UFT or any other Tosca kind of things. If you have knowledge on Selenium, that is well and good. That you can mention in the resume. If you do not, then you can just mention related to Playwright itself.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
And
hi,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Praveen. Thank you for today's
Yes.
session.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, I'm a student. Actually, I'm doing my master course. So I'm wondering, like, which is the automation tool I should be familiar? Is that if I'm familiar with the Playwright with the TypeScript, or I should also familiar with other automation tool for to get a job after completion of my master course? So, what is
Right.
your feedback on that? I would like to hear.
Right. So, see, everyone will have different perspective. But
Mm-hmm.
what I have seen in the market in the last 10 years or in the last 5 years is that if you are learning like Playwright, currently there is a demand of the Playwright and will be at least for the next 10 years. At least for the next 10 years, there will be Playwright in the market. Along with that, if you would like to learn any other tech tools and technology, then you can go for Selenium. But again, I'll say that just focus on one part of the things, which is Playwright, and then going forward, if you want to expand that, you can expand your knowledge towards AI in testing. Other
Okay.
than going for learning like Selenium and other things, I'll suggest just learn the Playwright, and then later on, you can expand your knowledge towards AI in testing. Okay,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
that will give you the advantage over learning like Selenium, Cypress, or any other tools in the market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And if I wanted to reach out, if I have more questions, how do I reach out to you?
You can always ping me. You'll get if you are in any of the group, you will get
Mm-hmm.
my number over there. You can always reach
Okay.
out to me on my WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great. Any other question from anyone else over here? Okay, great. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. And as I said, whoever have already paid, whoever is going to pay in the next couple of days, you can just share your email address. You will be getting the recorded session of my previous batch that you can go through with for JavaScript and TypeScript. And we'll again be starting our session, which will be again a real session from the day one of TypeScript from 17th of March onwards. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hope to see you again in our day one session for the TypeScript. And meanwhile, you people can go through with the recorded sessions that we have, which will again give you some kind of understanding. If you have any kind of questions in those part of the things as well, you can ping me over there. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.